Antarctica doesn't give up its secrets easily. Beneath 2 miles of ice lies a continent that hasn't seen sunlight in millions of years, where temperatures plunge to -90 degrees Celsius, and where reality itself seems to freeze in ways we're only beginning to understand. Most expeditions return with ice cores, geological data, and routine climate measurements. But in September 2024, a Norwegian drilling operation extracted something that made every scientist on site go silent. Lock your doors. Put on your headphones. Because after this video, you'll never think about Antarctica the same way again. The Norwegians called it Expedition Frost 7. 7 drilling teams, 7 sites across the East Antarctic ice sheet, mapping ancient climate patterns through ice core analysis. Standard research, standard equipment, standard protocols. Everything was routine until drill site Delta 4 reached 187 meters below the surface. That's when Dr. Helena Frost, the expedition's lead glaciologist from the University of Oslo, noticed something embedded in the ice core that no one expected. A dark mass, roughly the size of a human torso, frozen but unmistakably organic. Here's what makes this different from every other frozen specimen ever discovered. When they examined the ice surrounding the organism, carbon-14 dating placed it at approximately 1.3 million years old. That's not unusual for Antarctic ice. What was unusual came when they began thawing the specimen under controlled laboratory conditions at the base camp. The tissue didn't decompose. It didn't show signs of cellular breakdown typical of ancient organic material. Instead, according to Dr. Frost's field notes obtained through a Norwegian Freedom of Information request, the cells appeared to be in a state of suspended metabolic activity. Not dead, not alive, waiting. Dr. Frost extracted tissue samples and ran them through preliminary genetic sequencing equipment. The results came back showing DNA, but with base pair sequences that didn't correspond to any known classification in the GenBank genetic database. Not mammal, not reptile, not fish, not bird, not bacteria. The cellular structure showed characteristics of multiple phyla simultaneously, muscular tissue with crystalline inclusions, neural pathways that branched in geometric patterns rather than organic randomness, a dermal layer that seemed to shift density when exposed to different temperatures. One member of the drilling team, a biotechnician named Erik Andersen, described the specimen in an email to a colleague at the Norwegian Polar Institute. His description was specific. The organism had what appeared to be 6 symmetrical appendages radiating from a central mass. Each appendage terminated in structures that resembled neither claws nor hands, but something that could serve both functions. The exterior showed no scales, no fur, no recognizable skin texture. Instead, a smooth surface that reflected light at angles inconsistent with biological tissue. When Erik tried to photograph the specimen with his phone, the device malfunctioned. The screen went black. When he powered it back on, every photo he'd taken of the specimen showed only distortion. Digital artifacts cascading across the image, like static interference. 3 other team members attempted to document the specimen. All experienced identical equipment failures. The official expedition camera, a ruggedized Nikon designed for polar conditions, captured one clear image before its memory card corrupted irretrievably. Dr. Frost immediately implemented containment protocols. The specimen was placed in a sealed cryochamber maintained at -60 degrees Celsius. She contacted the Norwegian Polar Institute, the British Antarctic Survey, and the U.S. Antarctic Program to report the discovery. All 3 organizations responded within hours. This is where the story takes a turn that makes you question what we're really finding beneath the ice. Within 48 hours, a joint response team arrived at the drilling site via military transport. Not scientists, not researchers from the institutions Dr. Frost had contacted, military personnel with no identifying insignia, accompanied by 2 individuals in containment suits who refused to provide credentials. They took possession of the specimen, all tissue samples, all field notes, and every piece of equipment that had come into contact with the organism. Dr. Frost and her team were ordered to cease operations immediately and sign non-disclosure agreements classified under Norwegian national security protocols. Before the specimen was removed, Dr. Frost managed to send encrypted data files to 3 separate laboratories, one in Oslo, one in Cambridge, and one at McMurdo Station in Antarctica. The files contained the genetic sequencing data she'd compiled during the initial analysis. All 3 labs ran independent examinations of the data. All 3 reached the same conclusion, documented in internal memos, later leaked to the scientific community. The organism's DNA contained nucleotide sequences that don't exist in any known terrestrial life form. Specifically, the presence of what appeared to be 8 distinct base pairs instead of the 4 found in all Earth-based biology. Adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine are the building blocks of every living thing on this planet. This specimen showed 4 additional molecular structures performing the same function, but with chemical properties that shouldn't be stable under Earth's atmospheric conditions. Dr. Richard Pemberton, a molecular biologist at Cambridge who analyzed the Oslo data, wrote in a confidential report to the Natural Environment Research Council, "If this data is accurate, we are not looking at an unknown species. We are looking at an unknown category of life. The implications are not evolutionary. They are existential." The Norwegian government classified the entire expedition under military secrecy laws, typically reserved for defense technology. Dr. Frost was transferred to a different research division studying glacier dynamics in Svalbard. She has not published any findings related to Expedition Frost 7. Eric Andersen left the Norwegian Polar Institute 6 months after the expedition, and now works in private climate consulting. When contacted by a science journalist in early 2025, he declined to comment, except to say, "Some things we're not meant to find. And when we do, someone makes sure we forget." But here's where it gets more unsettling. Expedition Frost 7 wasn't the first time something like this was discovered in Antarctica. In 1992, a Russian drilling team at Vostok Station extracted ice cores from depths exceeding 3,700 meters, penetrating layers of ice older than 400,000 years. In 1996, they reached a subglacial lake sealed beneath the ice for millions of years. During the drilling process, they retrieved biological samples that Russian scientists described in classified reports as inconsistent with known evolutionary lineages. Those reports were never published. The Russian government declared the Vostok research a matter of national scientific priority and restricted access to the drilling site. In 2013, a U.S. research team drilling through the West Antarctic ice sheet reported finding what they initially believed to be a new species of deep-sea creature in water samples extracted from 800 meters below the ice. The organism showed bioluminescent properties and cellular structures that didn't conform to known marine biology. The samples were sent to the Smithsonian Institution for analysis. According to documents obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request, the samples disappeared during transit. No further investigation was conducted, and in 2018, a British Antarctic survey team using ground-penetrating radar to map subglacial topography detected what they described in their preliminary report as structural anomalies, inconsistent with geological formation. The anomalies showed geometric patterns, right angles, and parallel configurations spanning an area of approximately 14 square kilometers beneath the ice near the Queen Maud Mountains. When they applied for permits to conduct sub-ice drilling in the area, their request was denied by the Antarctic Treaty Secretariat without explanation. The research data was classified, and the team members were reassigned to different projects. If you've made it this far, thank you. Leave a like if this discovery has stayed with you, and tell us in the comments what you think we're really finding beneath the ice. Are these discoveries evidence of life that evolved independently from Earth's biosphere? Are they remnants of something that existed before the last ice age, preserved in conditions we're only now able to access? Let's go deeper, because the organism discovered in 2024 isn't just a biological anomaly. It's part of a pattern. The Norwegian drilling site where the specimen was found, Delta 4, is located at coordinates 78 degrees south, 106 degrees east degrees. That places it approximately 320 kilometers from an area known among polar researchers as the Wilkes land magnetic anomaly, first detected in 1962 by Soviet satellite magnetometry. The Wilkes anomaly is a gravitational and magnetic disturbance beneath the ice measuring roughly 480 kilometers in diameter. It's one of the largest impact craters on Earth, formed by a meteor collision estimated at 250 million years ago. But here's what makes this relevant. In 2006, a team from Ohio State University used satellite gravimetry to map the anomaly in detail. Their findings, published in the journal Science, confirmed the impact crater's massive size. What wasn't published was a secondary finding included in their raw data, later obtained through academic archive requests. The center of the crater showed density readings inconsistent with impact geology. Specifically, a concentrated mass exhibiting thermal signatures 15 degrees warmer than the surrounding bedrock, despite being buried beneath 1.6 kilometers of ice. Something beneath the Wilkes anomaly is generating heat, and it's been doing so for long enough to create a subglacial lake directly above it. Dr. Frost's drilling site was positioned along the eastern edge of this thermal zone. The ice core that contained the frozen organism was extracted from a depth that, according to thermal modeling, would place it within the boundary layer of the subglacial lake's ancient shoreline, which means this organism didn't freeze during a polar winter. It froze when the entire region was covered by an advancing ice sheet, trapping whatever existed there beneath millions of tons of ice. One detail from Dr. Frost's field note stands out. When they first brought the specimen to the surface, the external temperature at the drilling site was -42 degrees Celsius. The specimen's core temperature, measured immediately upon extraction, was -38 degrees, 4 degrees warmer than the surrounding environment. That difference persisted for 6 hours, even as the specimen remained in sub-zero conditions, as if it was generating its own thermal regulation. Eric Anderson, the biotechnician who first examined the specimen, mentioned one more detail in his email that was never included in official reports. When he placed his hand near the specimen, not touching it, just hovering a few centimeters above its surface, he felt a vibration. Not audible, not visible, but palpable through the air. A rhythmic pulsing, approximately 0.8 Hz, slow and steady like a heartbeat measuring time in a scale humans weren't meant to perceive. He described the sensation as deeply unsettling, not because it was painful, but because it felt intentional, as if the specimen, frozen for over 1 million years, was aware that someone was finally looking at it. The military team that removed the specimen also confiscated all the equipment used in the extraction process: drills, core tubes, containment chambers, even the portable laboratory tent where Dr. Frost conducted her analysis. Everything was loaded onto a cargo transport and flown to an undisclosed location. The Norwegian Polar Institute filed an official complaint with the Antarctic Treaty Secretariat, citing violations of international scientific cooperation protocols. The complaint was acknowledged and filed with no further action. Dr. Frost attempted to present her preliminary findings at the European Geosciences Union Conference in Vienna in April 2025. Her abstract was accepted. 3 days before her scheduled presentation, her access to the conference was revoked. The official reason given was scheduling conflicts. When colleagues inquired, they were told the research was under review for national security implications and could not be discussed publicly. But Dr. Frost had already shared some of her findings with a small group of trusted colleagues during informal discussions. One of them, a paleobiologist from the University of Copenhagen, described what she told them. The organism showed evidence of what appeared to be technological integration. Not tools used by the organism, but structures embedded within its cellular matrix that resembled circuitry. Conductive pathways made from an organic metallic compound that doesn't correspond to any known biomineralization process. If that description is accurate, and we have no reason to doubt the credentials of the scientists who examined the data, then we're not looking at a species that evolved naturally. We're looking at something that was engineered, or something that evolved in an environment with fundamentally different physical laws. Here's what we know for certain. Something was found beneath the Antarctic ice in September 2024. That something had biological characteristics inconsistent with terrestrial life. Its genetic structure contained molecular configurations that don't exist anywhere in Earth's biosphere. Multiple independent laboratories confirmed these findings before the data was classified, and the international response was not scientific curiosity. It was suppression. The Wilkes land magnetic anomaly remains one of the least explored regions of Antarctica. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped its general structure, but no drilling operations have been conducted at its center. The thermal signatures detected there have never been explained. The subglacial lake above it has never been sampled. And now, after the events of Expedition Frost 7, it's unlikely any research will be permitted in that area for the foreseeable future. Dr. Richard Pemberton, the Cambridge molecular biologist who analyzed the genetic data, made one final statement before being instructed by his university to cease any further commentary on the matter. He said, "We've spent centuries building a taxonomy of life based on the assumption that all biology on Earth shares a common origin. If what we found in Antarctica doesn't fit that taxonomy, then either our understanding of evolution is incomplete, or we've discovered something that originated outside the evolutionary framework entirely. Both possibilities are terrifying." Eric Anderson, the biotechnician who felt the specimen's rhythmic pulsing, left the Norwegian Polar Institute and hasn't spoken publicly about his experience. But in his final email to a colleague before going silent, he wrote something that stays with you. He said, "It's still down there. And the first don't think it was alone." So, here's the question no one wants to ask. If this organism was frozen 1-3 million years ago, what else is preserved beneath the ice? Antarctica holds 90% of the world's fresh water, locked in ice sheets up to 4.8 kilometers thick. Beneath that ice are mountain ranges, valleys, and lakes that haven't been exposed to the surface in millions of years. We've explored less than one of what's down there. Every year, climate change accelerates the melting of Antarctic ice. Glaciers that have been stable for millennia are retreating. Subglacial lakes are expanding. And as the ice recedes, whatever has been preserved beneath it for ages beyond human comprehension is being exposed. What we found in 2024 might not be an isolated discovery. It might be the first. The Norwegian government hasn't released any further information about Expedition Frost 7. Dr. Helena Frost continues her work studying glacier dynamics in Svalbard, far from the East Antarctic ice sheet. The specimen extracted from drill site Delta 4 has not been mentioned in any scientific literature. Its current location is unknown, and the 3 laboratories that analyzed its genetic data have not published their findings. But the data exists. The field notes exists. The testimonies of scientists who saw something that contradicted every principle of biology exist. And the questions those discoveries raise aren't going away. If you're still watching, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because we're going to keep investigating the mysteries that authorities would rather keep buried. Literally, in this case, beneath 2 miles of ice. Tell us what you think is really happening in Antarctica. And remember, some discoveries aren't lost. They're hidden. Because when you find something that challenges the foundation of everything we know about life on Earth, the question isn't whether it's real. The question is, who decides what we're allowed to know about it? Antarctica holds its secrets in ice that's older than human civilization. And we're just beginning to melt the surface.